Hello everyone. We have a game with the white pieces against Unjuren. Rated 944. We open up with 1d4 and let's see if we can get into a Jobava London. Let's see if we can get a game period. Okay, he develops the knight. This stops us from playing e4, so we're off to a good start. I'm developing my knight towards the center, re-threatening to play e4. Will he play d5? I think I have something in my eye. Okay, he does not play d5. He plays e6, opening the bishop. This does not stop me from playing e4. So let's do it. Now he plays d5, offering to go into a French structure, which I don't mind. I like playing the advanced French, so we can do that. Alternatives, we can just maybe develop a piece. I say let's push and misplace this knight. No more our Jobava London turned into a French. So he'll go back. And his idea will be to play c5 and break down my pawn chain. And my knight really will have no business here, especially since there's no possible coordination. And so I can similarly move my knight to e2, preparing for c3 and our French structure, and rotating this knight over to the king side. So I'm going to start with that. It also removes the pin ideas, but it's mostly to create this pawn chain because he's going to be breaking ours down and we do want that extra pawn support. It's not slow because the center is completely closed and he moved his knight back, so we have plenty of time to do this rerouting, and now we just have more space. So instead of the c5 pawn break, he goes for the f6 pawn break, saying, hey, for the moment maybe your knight is clumsy, but his knight's just as clumsy. This also weakens his light squares over here. I want to support that the e5 point. You could take, I suppose, but I really would rather support it while developing my knight, controlling the square one more time. If he goes c5, we'll go c3. Okay, he does not. He brings the knight out. So this is a move that attacks this pawn another time, though. So it blocks the c pawn, but it does threaten to take the pawn. So we don't want to lose the pawn, that's for sure. But we can defend it an additional time while developing. And now his knight really doesn't belong here because he really wants to play c5 at some point. He's trying to apply pressure as much as he can, but normally you need the pawn for that and the queen, and all of that combined puts a lot of pressure. So now he plays on the dark squares with g5, attacking the bishop, trying to misplace everything so he can try to win the pawn, but at the cost of his king side, so it might not be worth the pawn. So anyway, let's move the bishop back. And then he goes and tries to kick our knight. I wonder if we can, the drawback to this move is it loses control over these squares, so I wonder if we can ignore him. Hop our knight in here, with this threat. So I'm going to counter threat. So if he takes a knight, I get a pawn. When he moves the queen, I get another pawn and an exchange. So he takes my knight, I take his pawn. He could take here, I guess, and I would have to react. So he moves the queen so he doesn't lose the queen, which makes sense. But now we get the second pawn, again with check, which is important. And there's something in my eye. Okay, so his king attacks our knight. This pawn's hanging, the rook's hanging. Let's take the rook. Our king is in the middle, but that's okay. We're going to take this pawn. Or he'll take us and we'll recapture. Maybe he'll try to go for this, but which pawn do we take there? Who knows? It's a good question. Because you can't really put a piece here until you take this pawn. I mean, you can because you're up material, but one move is definitely more accurate than the other. So if he takes here, you could just take back. He'll have to take with the knight. And maybe you just move your king to d2 for a second. Okay, so never mind. He goes and gives a check with the queen, attacking lots of stuff. Also hanging lots of stuff. Very weird position. I think I'm going to go c3 and let him take this one. And then I'm going to move my queen over 1, protecting everything and kicking his queen away. He could trade and then say your knight's trapped, so you're not really up much or anything. But I will have some pawns. I will have some positional advantage for sure. And material, depending on what he does. So he takes the queen. So right now I'm up a rook and a pawn for a knight. So I'm up a little bit of 3 points of material. But I have these bishops staring at the center, beautiful bishops. He takes. So let's just take. Without queens on the board, our king feels a lot better. And our bishops are beaming. So he tries to improve his knight. Maybe come in with a fork. Well, definitely come in with a fork. So, did we move our king yet? No. Okay, so now we just castle. And we have a nice little easy holiday. Look at our beautiful bishops tucked away. Our rooks are connected. Maybe we can even just sack this pawn and coordinate with our bishop to escape with our knight and remain up material. That might be the easiest course of action. So he develops and he does it for free, which makes a lot of sense. Can we counter move our rook so that it goes somewhere for free? We do have random checks, but I don't see how they benefit us. Although, random check, if he goes here, your knight escapes. Random check, if he tries to stay in touch with that square, then you have this check. So yeah, actually they're not so random after all. After a little bit of calculation, it's not a random check. Okay, he moves his knight backwards. But now if I take that again, my knight escapes. Also, it's in a pin. So for the time being, let's go here for free because it threatens to win this. which was already threatened, but now it's theirs with the king. The knight can't move because it's trapped, and we're still threatening to evacuate our knight this way. So he attacks our rook, but unfortunately for him, we could get the turn back and then carry out the plan we just said. So we're just going to go here just to get the turn back. Also, we could have taken this with check, which I forgot about. And he just gives us this check. It does nothing. Our king is much safer on h1, so thank you for that. And now he still has all the same problems. Now everything's hanging, and our knight will escape. So this was a super tactical looking game, especially for this 900. So he goes here, just looking at this diagonal, nothing in particular. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't take this with check, as the knight is pinned. Now we could take this guy. We could also give this check, depending on where he goes. And our position's wonderful. Our knight escapes. Okay, so he pins himself in a different way. He loves pinning his pieces. This is good. Again, we can evacuate our knight, but instead I'm going to improve the power of our position, improve a piece, while adding so much pressure to the pinned piece. So his knight is tied down. Also, his bishop is tied down to his knight. His knight's tied down to his bishop. These are tied down to his king. And his rook only has a couple squares, which don't do anything. So he moves his king, but this does allow us to give this check. And that's good for us. So let's give the check. He might go back so he doesn't hang the bishop outright. Not outright, but, you know, 2 pieces for the rook. But he doesn't. He goes to the side. I mean, we're up material. Let's continue winning material. Taking 2 pieces for a rook is awesome. 2 pieces are usually a lot better. And the fact is, we have a pin with double pressure, and he can't bring the rook to defend because of the knight. So he has this move, maybe. But then I take here, he takes here, I attack it twice, he defends it. Okay, he doesn't do that. He attacks my knight, but now we can take this piece with check. And we will checkmate him shortly with our bishops, our knight, and our rook, and this pawn. So let's try to create a mating net. First, let's free up our bishop. Create some space. Get the pawn a little closer to his king. Okay, well, he takes our knight, so we won't be using that piece. One less piece, but that's okay. How do we create a mating net, though? Maybe we need to get our king to g4 to cover the light squares properly. I mean, then it would be super easy. See, so now he's using the light squares. So let's just quickly get out of the attack for free. He's hitting our light square bishop. Okay, so let's do this. We'll either mate him or he'll take our rook and we'll get a queen. So either way is easy. But since he doesn't do that, now his king is super cut off. So check here. Then your rook would hang. Check here. Here? Wait, that's it, right? So here. So if he goes here, then he just immediately loses everything because of discoveries or worse. So there you go. I knew a checkmate was looming. So we found the checkmate. Let's go over the game. So we try to get a Jobava London, but to do that, they have to force me to do it. They have to play d5. But he did not play d5. This allows me to play e4. and get into our advanced French, rerouting the knight to support the center. And I moved my knight out, and later on I moved the other knight here to attack this. You could actually move this knight here now and do the same thing I did. Okay, but instead of counterattacking, I'm still defending the pawn towards the center, developing a piece, but not taking advantage of their weakness. Force move. And now I take advantage of the weakness at this moment in time. And then he takes the piece, which I think is bad because of my response. Taking free stuff, taking more free stuff, all with check. I didn't even see this pawn was hanging. The central pawn hitting the queen. And can even circle around here. Wow. So even if you didn't get the rook, you could have got a whole bunch of pawns at the very least. Interesting. But I took the rook, and the computer says taking all the pawns, that other line was a lot better. Cool. So he gives us this random check, and we block it. And the computer says that here the position is even. So with perfect play from both sides, this is even. That's pretty crazy. So he takes this pawn, and now suddenly white's better. He makes the most natural move, and white's better. So we go for the queen trade. He takes, apparently it's a mistake, and we recapture because it's a forced move. And I mean, I like my position here because of all the bishops pressure down the center, this weak pawn, our nice pawn structure, his isolated pawn in the center. So it looked good to me. I mean, it is plus 1.2 for white, but you know, this is why I went for it, because it looks good. So he takes, and now it's suddenly plus 3. So, like I said, our bishops are super strong. It's super easy to misplay as black. That's why I went down this line. He takes, which is natural, and we're forced to recapture. And then we finally finish our development in king safety, now that all the crazy tactics and forced moves are gone. And white's completely winning in this position. He makes a very natural move, developing with tempo, and it immediately goes to plus 5. So, and it's because this bishop was necessary to defend the king. And so this check was the right move. It didn't end up being a random check, because it ended up just tying down his whole position. And he just couldn't move. So yeah, you could have taken the pawn with check, but this works too because he has to move the bishop, which is super forcing. This counter check is meaningless, force move. And then we take free stuff. And then we improve for free, tying down his entire position. And then we improve a piece for free. And then we take free stuff, free stuff, free stuff. And then we just try to create a mating net. So we're just looking for ways to box the king in. That's a force move. And now, did I move there? What? Yeah. Okay, so force move. And now I'm offering the rook trade, or I'm going to mate him. If he trades the rooks, I run the pawn. Otherwise, he gets mated like he did in the game, mate in 2. So, another good game. Yeah, we still haven't. Maybe we have, but we haven't gotten many real Jobava Londons yet. We'll get them soon enough. So just you wait. Don't worry about it. We'll get them. Other than that, good luck in your chess. Submit your games in my Discord, and goodbye.